Mr. Hamdi, welcome. Today we are with Mr. Hamdi Osman. Mr. Hamdi Osman is a self-made man, self-entrepreneur. Mr. Hamdi has made it to the biggest positions in the Middle East, I would say so. He migrated from Egypt to the US of A, and he became the second man in the largest blue chip company in the world. I will give you that to explain which company is that. Mr. Hamdi right now also is the president of Dubai Rotary Club. Mr. Hamdi is also the CEO and chief executive of many other companies he has established himself. Mr. Hamdi Osman also has contributed greatly in the promotion of the brand Dubai. He was involved in so many organizations. I will let you to explain that, in promoting Dubai for business and for leisure, and in terms of cargo and logistics. Mr. Hamdi Osman is a success story by itself, who's a man made it all by himself. And the dream is possible. When there is a will, there is a way. I want to thank you for allowing us to have this interview with you. And please, could you start to tell us how did it all start when you moved from Egypt to New York up to made it to
Dubai, back to Dubai.
Back to Dubai.
In a way.
Yeah.
First of all, Muhammad, thank you for giving the opportunity, and in the love of Dubai and the creation of Dubai, and place that we all call our home now. The journey started obviously in the early stages, where I think my late dad, in his vision was for me to see more of the world rather than just stand still in our little home Portside in Egypt. And his attention was to create more hunger for success by saying, if you succeed, you will have a trip. And it started back in 1972, at least to show my age. And that was my first trip, I think at the age of about 16, or 17 at the time. Going into, first we started with Milano, the following year for 3 months, then the following year in the summer, and then going to London, and the third year into Stuttgart in Germany. And when I finished the university, was my big surprise, obviously, getting into the U.S. Got into the U.S. for follow my dream to be a football player, soccer player in the U.S. And at the time, the 1976, all the soccer player around the world, from Ballet, Beckenbauer, George Best, George Canaria, all at the time, all formal players came to the U.S. just to get the name and get the brand and to get the sports going. But unfortunately, the sport never took off because of the powerful organization of American football, not soccer, and basketball, and baseball and hockey made sure that soccer never take a position or take a place and all that. So ended obviously working for a small company, just started back then. During that time, was only like about 3 years old. And at the time, it's called Federal Express. And I went showing up for the interview as my brother-in-law was a manager and invited me to come in. They have an opening, and the company was, again, very small, and it was in Newark, New Jersey at the time. I show up with a 3-piece suit, and they looked at me and they started laughing because I was going to be washing trucks. Anyway, I ended in washing trucks, and I think I was the best washer of all time in the history of FedEx. Okay. It took me about 5 months to do the job, and from there, the rest is history. 3 years later, I was my brother-in-law's boss's boss, and then went from the lower level of employee into management, from a manager, senior manager, managing director. And
then you made it all the way up to?
All the way until I came here in 91 because of the Gulf War at the time, and FedEx, we contributed to the help and support of the region, and we established our region here in Dubai back in
As
in
what?
91. And I came in as a managing director for the region for the Middle East, and from there grow into Middle East and Africa, and then grow into Middle East, Africa, and Indian subcontinent, and then later on COO of Europe. So we had Europe, Africa, Middle East, Indian subcontinent, and after 33 and a half years, almost 34 years, retired, happily retired, and now staying in Dubai in doing my own business as a retiree. So I'm enjoying it. And I'm now in the education business, in healthcare, in food and beverage, hospitality, and retail.
Great. Could you tell me how was your beginning in Dubai, and how do you see it now, and did you expect it to become what it is today?
Well, it was a funny story because when I came, the chairman of FedEx at the time, Mr. Fred Smith, was given the opportunity either here or in Bahrain. And we have to decide because at the time, Bahrain was the center of the Middle East when it comes to hub for banking and hub for logistic. Because at the time, one of our competitors have established already their presence, DHL, in Bahrain. So everybody was focused on Bahrain as a logistic. After my interview in Bahrain and interview a couple of the people from government and sheikhs and going around and asking more and all the stuff, I wrote my infamous letter that, Dubai is it. This is the future. This is what I think. And this is again
And you saw that by yourself, or how did you feel
91, I think, to be honest with you, is that one meeting with Sheikh Ahmed bin Said Maktoum, and also he also helped me with meeting with Sheikh Mohammed. And at the time, I wrote the letter that I said, this is the future. I saw
you were convinced after meeting them that Dubai
convinced Dubai has the plan, has the future, has everything. And if FedEx were going to have a hub for the whole entire Africa, Middle East, Indian subcontinent, it should be Dubai. And I use this all the time when we started the journey of quality. When I told His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, and I said, we have within the FedEx, we talk about Marlin the magician, when a description of leadership, when you say the ability of a leader to stand in the future and look backward rather than stand in presence and look forward. And that what the description of Sheikh Mohammed back then, now, and even 50 years from now. We will always think of him that way because only few leader in the world, they can stand in the future and look backward. And it's funny because you see a lot of countries, surrounding country, everybody talks about the 5-year الخطة الخمسية, 5 years plan, where His Highness always looking 20 to 30, the 50 years ahead of everyone else. And that's what we saw back then.
A vision and a mission.
And obviously today, very proudly to say what legacy left behind in FedEx with strong 1,000 employees. And today the aircraft come in either direct from the US or from Europe and covering the whole entire region.
Dubai today is, you can say, it is a local, global city.
Absolutely. And we used to say, people, when I used to go to India almost every week, and people used to say, okay, now how many cities? I said, I visit about 200 cities. Say, what's your favorite city in India? I used to say Dubai. And they all laugh and they say, why? I said, because if you want to go from Delhi to Bangalore or Madras, it takes you over 5 hours. Where from Dubai, you can hit any city, those main cities, within 3 hours. So the shortest way to anywhere in India is Dubai. The shortest way anywhere in Africa, also Dubai. So Dubai is the hub, and that's where back in the organization with the logistic organization with the freight forwarder, the National Committee for Freight Forwarding. Back then, we realized there was a strong leader back in the early 90s, and we all helped to Dubai today with also the help, of course, of Sheikh Ahmed bin Said at the time, the early days, making Dubai to become one of the top 10 cities in the world when it comes to logistics, either by air, sea, or ground.
Okay.
And the concept of Sheikh Maktoum Airport was born from the idea of You can reach
Al Maktoum
Europe,
Airport.
Al Maktoum Airport. How to be able to reach Europe or anywhere within the region by air, sea, and ground.
Could you tell us just last before I go into my other question? When you started FedEx here and when you left it, what was the size or the mega of the operation in Dubai? From 91 or 92 up to
no, I came in September 91, and at the time the office was a very small office, just less than 10 people.
Okay. And it grew to what?
And when I left, only the FedEx offices, FedEx operations in the UAE was 1,000 employees. However, that 1,000 employee was surrounded by, in total, between Africa, Middle East, Indian subcontinent, this is the head office, surrounded by about a good close to 25,000 employees, including the agents and all of that. And that's supported by wide-body aircraft that cover all the, just 54 countries in Africa, and if you add all the Indian subcontinent and the Arab world, you're talking about close to 100 countries.
I want to say something that you and representing FedEx at that time, you guys have contributed to, you say in Arabic, ارتقاء الخدمات اللوجستية in Dubai.
Sure.
Could you tell us, you guys, how we were always the system, upgrading the systems, trying a new way?
See, no company in the world could have done any success or without the help with the government, the infrastructure of the government, the mindset, the business mindset from the government, and having the infrastructure help all of us in this industry, the logistic industries. And remember, to be as powerful as Dubai has become today, remember, when DB World was established 2005, 2006, overnight success. DB World have taken the world on by storm, because today DB World owns 77 plus, maybe the last time I checked, ports around the world. You could not have done that without having a strong base back at home.
Okay.
And that strong base based on a good establishment, good infrastructure that help any company anywhere in the world they want to have logistic, they have to come to Dubai. So Dubai overnight has become the Amsterdam, the Singapore of the region, and also became a major player, one of the top 5 ports or airports in the world today, Dubai, if you look at air or sea or ground. And also understand one thing, it doesn't matter what business you are in, without logistic, you're dead. Very important to understand. So the spine cord of any economy anywhere in the world is logistic.
Yes.
Yes,
okay. I want to say also, you were always a part of the people or the organizations or the CEOs or the groups that were involved in promoting Dubai worldwide.
Absolutely. Well, we as CEOs for larger company, and most of the CEO living in Dubai, I'm sure they all share, without a doubt, the love and affection of Dubai. And I think we all consider ourselves Dubaian, number one. Number two, we ambassador of the brand. When you go in outside, when people say, where are you from? Even if you say, I was born in Egypt, I'm an American, but I live in Dubai. They ask you, the first question is, how is Dubai? I love to visit Dubai. So this could not happen without what His Highness, his vision to make Dubai a major player worldwide and to establish what the impossible. And remember, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first foot. And all that was seen in the late 80s and early 90s, when I never forgot the first meeting as a couple of CEOs around His Highness. And he said, with all the things that you heard from me today, this is nothing. This is only maybe 5 or 7%. And 2-3 years later, he said, this is 8%, or this is 9%, and so on. Now, 25 years later,
raising the bar.
it's only, he keeps saying it's only 15 or 20%. So it's great to see that. And it's, again, the help and support that we have done with the Dubai Quality Award.
Okay.
That goes without saying. In the early 90s, based on the Malcolm Baldrige Award, we built the Dubai Quality Award. And I think back then when we all agreed back in 2004, when we said, 1990, 94, 95, when we said this once you get it launched, you're never going to look back. And I'm very proud to say it was part of the establishment that we established the Dubai Quality Award and created something that became the infrastructure for quality, which is now Dubai, it's well known for.
You were also a part of the groups who were promoting Dubai worldwide, from Dubai Tourism Board, Civil Aviation, the Ports Authority, whatever organization was in charge or
and all of the authorities around the world.
What I wanted to say really, was it easy to promote the destination Dubai? Would you guys have to put a lot of convincing into others to come to check Dubai, or the brand was already, people want to come and explore and to see and to check the brand by themselves? Was it so difficult, or it was okay?
The early stages, of course, in the early 90s, was less people as you know today knowing the brand and knowing Dubai. As of course the success of Emirates Airline has contributed, in my opinion, to the single-handed, in my opinion, made the world closer, made Dubai closer, and as a result, covering today the most successful airline in Africa, Emirates Airline, most successful.
And in the world.
What I was going to say, most successful airline in Europe, Emirates Airline. Most successful,
as you said,
American
there is no
airline
one
is
I met
Emirates.
or I heard who doesn't want to come to Dubai.
Never.
The brand became so successful,
Never.
mashallah.
As a matter of fact, it doesn't matter where I am. And I've a couple of months back in New York, we're standing just lunchtime, we're standing online to get into a restaurant, and the word, my friend is talking about Dubai, 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 and before we know it, 5 financial people who, have a different passports, whatever, and they asking, can we come to Dubai? And we said, absolutely, Dubai open for everybody, for any religion, for any individual.
One more thing I want to say, when they used to ask you, and you said, I'm an Egyptian or whatever, the beauty of Dubai, whether you're a local or whether you're a resident, you can always say, I'm from Dubai.
Absolutely.
By living here, by being a resident of Dubai, doing a business in Dubai, you can say, I'm from Dubai. It's easy. Nowhere else you can say that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I use this a lot of my public speaking. One thing very important, and I'm sure all my friends who understand and heard me saying it, the SIA, the Singapore International Airport. Singapore International Airport entity of itself has been one of the most profitable and also the most organized organization in the world.
And successful.
Here's the thing, I'm very successful. Every employee, it doesn't matter if you work for FedEx, Avis,
whatever it is,
any airline of the world, when you ask him, he has a tag that has SIA, Singapore International Airport, and then underneath of that, his tag for his ID card for his company. But the first thing when you ask him, who do you work for? He said, SIA. Never say I work for XYZ airline or for this company. Very proud to say I work for the airport. And that's a brand of itself. It's like Harley Davidson, people
recognition of the brand.
And the recognition of the brand, or people Coca-Cola put it on their brand.
That's what shows you what happened when people invest in brand building.
Absolutely. And Dubai is it.
Dubai has done that so successfully. The boss and all the organizations who help the boss, including all of you guys, have really put it on the map. He has invested greatly in the brand Dubai. That's what made the brand today is. The brand by itself. It's a huge, huge trademark.
Sure.
It's almost famous as Coke.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, that will take me to my next question. How do you see the future of logistics, whether in Dubai or the Middle East or the world? We see with all this technology, with all this internet, with all the souk.coms, etc., etc., etc. How do you think will it change? How will it evolve? Or what do you see what's next in the future?
Well, uh, as the world, McKinsey and Company have done a study about 15 years ago by saying talking about GDP and talking about also uh, infrastructure and manufacturing, where a lot of the country back then was 80% of the goods imported. Only 20% was manufactured in, it doesn't matter, average in the countries. And as it will be evolved within the next 25 years to 30 years, in the sense of the paradigm shift, where it's going to be 80 manufactured in the country, 20 in there. Okay. Well, what happened today with the logistic and the e-commerce and all of that, the world has become smaller. And also what happened in the aviations, as the engine becomes faster, and now you can the velocity in the speed between cities and all of that have made also logistics become a necessity of life, where it doesn't matter where it's being manufactured. The good is reaching everywhere. So logistic, it's always going to be necessity of life. As I said earlier, it's going to be the spine cord of any business. It's always going to be the logistic, but it's going to be improved as.
Then here, can I ask you something? Do you think, or how, or are we already in Dubai? Are we, or we want to be, the center of logistics through Asia Pacific Rim? Or what do we need to do yet to become like that?
We're not there yet, but now with the Amazon coming in and acquiring Souk, and all the big companies start, eyeing Dubai, because the Dubai market itself, it's small. However, we are a carbon copy.
But you're connected to
all. This worldwide. Is what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
The best gateway to Africa, to the Middle East, to Southeast Asia is Dubai. And even to Eastern Europe is Dubai. So now I think we at the mid road of getting the air, sea, and ground sector perfected to make Dubai, if not better, Singapore and Amsterdam. And we get in there.
Who would be the custodian of such a development on this logistics central, to enhance it, to make it evolve the way we see all the other organizations are so successful?
Well, it goes hand in hand. One thing is definitely the GCC. The success of Dubai depends heavily on the GCC, because the gateway, if you're talking about road connection, without the gateway into Saudi, because it doesn't matter where you're going to go, you have to pass through the Saudi. So the GCC have to play a major role, and Saudi play a major role into this, how to open the roads. And obviously what's happening today in Syria and everywhere else, that it's affecting the entrance into Europe. However, Dubai's policy and the open sky policy, it helped tremendously to the average person to understand is Dubai is open to the world for any cargo, any passenger aircraft coming in here, and that makes it easy
let's
to
say
do business.
In Dubai, if somebody wants any advice or any consultation on logistics, whatever, is there such an organization or such an office who can assist and help?
Of course, on the National Committee for Freight Forwarders, is there for everyone. The civil aviation is also another good stop. They are the best when it comes to helping others to establish businesses. Also, the Dubai Economic Department, second to none anywhere in the world. When somebody will come in, and the one-stop shop that has been created for any businessman or woman coming into Dubai, we're very proud to say, you can come in and say what you want, and they tell you exactly what is needed. And I know any license that does not take more than maximum between 48 hours to maybe in some cases up to 10 days. But again, unlike anywhere else in the region or in the world, where once your paperwork is correct, everything is you're free to do business. And logistics cannot be more easier done in Dubai than anywhere else in the world.
Okay. 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 Can you tell us how do you see, or what can you advise newcomers, new entrepreneurs, new young people, what they should do, or like what you have done, or what you would have done different, or what to believe in to make their dream come true?
Well, we have a word in only in Bursaid. The Bursaidian only know that in Egypt. When you say a word that we use when say somebody came. He said in the old Arab world they said ge. أو in Bursaid we said إجا.
Mm.
الولد إجا هو راح فين إجا منين
He
إجا
came.
EGA.
EGA.
If anybody who comes into this part of the world, you have to make sure to leave those three letters EGA out. Number one is ego. That ego, yes, you can have a good ego, like good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, but bad ego does not have a room in Dubai. That's for the E. The G for obviously greed. And then the A for obviously when we talk about the most important thing, which a lot of people get sick of it after living in Dubai for a year or two, they get the arrogance. So if you stay away from ego, greed, and arrogance, you'd be a very successful businessman in Dubai. And obviously, being staying a course. Why Dubai succeeded? Because His Highness walked the talk. His Highness made sure there is zero tolerance for any of the mishaps and any of the things that is done in a lot of other places and all that stuff where everybody's clean, whiter than white, straighter than straight. And as a result, the business environment that we are in, a very healthy business environment,
So,
and it's beautiful to be in a country where you speak Arabic, English, French, any language, but the English language is the business language today.
I would put it in another way, but in line of what you're saying, don't be ignorant, don't be arrogant, and don't be greedy. Try to be yourself, real people who believe, have hope, work for the will of everybody around you. Believe in your faith, believe in your share, what God's going to write from you. Be honest of what you do, and do any job as you do it for yourself.
And you know what? You look at what Dubai have taught all of us. When Dubai finally gets established and finally made the name, what did His Highness focus on? He started focusing on
The goodwill of the people.
Dubai lil-ata.
Yes, yes. Amul
Dubai
khair.
gives
Goodness, yes.
everything and all
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
And this is the kind of things, thank God we, on
This
our
was-
level, I joined the Rotary clubs to be able to give to in Dubai and to the other countries surrounding. But there is so many ways and means and all the stuff to give in there. And one thing I have to tell, and this is to my friend, the Emiratis, and also to my friend who I know over the years who coming from outside and Dubai became home for them. Please don't forget what I just said on the ego, the greed, and arrogance, because that's what kills a lot of business people and kills a lot of business. Look at Warren Buffett. Look at Bill Gates. Humble people. Thank God I have the fortune to meet those people and more. They're very down to earth. You would never be able, if you met these people who don't know anything about them, you wouldn't know that they have billions and billions of dollars. Money is not everything.
That's what I want to add and say. If we see our boss, the boss of Dubai, if you
course.
see of other bosses in other Emirates, Abu Dhabi, whatsoever, see how humble they are. If you see how caring they are, if you see how simple between people, how they travel, how they come, we should all learn just to be yourself. You have nothing to prove to anyone. By your good work, by your good vision and mission, a lot of things get accomplished.
Muhammad, I share with you a small story. I will never forget that. One of my employees back then, about 15 years ago, he took his family on a dooming by his four-wheel drive in the desert. And while he was doing that, somehow he went deep under and went nosing into and he crashed his car. And we're sitting there for 2 hours trying to get help to do anything and all that stuff. And here comes a car came in, and this Emirati gentleman came and tried to help him and all that stuff. Looked at him and he said, "Okay, a car will be on its way, will pick you up and all that stuff. And by the way, give me your name and number and all that." And the guy looked more and more, and I start getting shaking and get scared. And he looked at him and said, "You look like Sheikh Muhammad. Are you Sheikh Muhammad?" And he said, "Don't worry, whatever." And he took his name and number and he left. And the guy could not go to sleep. The second day came in and said, boss, you're not going to believe it. Look what happened to me and all that. And we all laughed, and, I said, don't worry, it's 3 days passed by. He got called into the ruler's office or something. And he got nervous. He called me and he said, should I go? What's going to happen to me? And I said, don't worry. You didn't do anything wrong and all that. And he got served with an envelope that has a brand new car keys inside. Where else in the world you will get something like that? And this story goes on, and every public speaking, I make sure this story is being told, because this is the kind of city, this is the kind of place you want to live in. And I'm sure many other stories.
This is also where I say always to all my fellow locals, residents, everything, what JF Kennedy said a long time ago. Don't always wait and hope and see what your country can do for you. No, what you can do for your country.
Absolutely.
And make it happen. As a resident, as a local, as young, as middle. We have to make it happen for everybody. We see our leaders, we see our bosses. They're saying, in a way, we make it happen for you as an investor, as a resident, as a local, as all. Let's all make it happen with each other to make it a better world, a successful world.
Absolutely. I love the article was written one time about me, maybe 20 years back, where it says, born in Egypt, made in USA, and now conquering the world from the United Arab Emirates. So Dubai is the center for me, and this is, it's my home now.
Last but not least, I want to thank you for this interview. I want to thank you and thank everyone who was a part of promoting Dubai and helping Dubai reach where it is today. And I hope we continue for better and better places. So thanks once again to everybody, to you and to everybody who has contributed for the brand where it is today.
Absolutely. Muhammad, one last word.
Please.
One thing, anybody, when you talk about Dubai, Jack Welch used to teach the E in the GE when he took over GE. And as you know, he's one of the 21st century leader, taking a company from 20 billion to 120 billion in less than within 22 years. But here's the thing. When he talked about the 4E, and I had to add one more to it, but he talks about energy, energize, edge, and execute. Those the 4 E's he described in his management style as a leader, which if you look at every one of them, it's a carbon copy of Dubai today. And I add one more, which is the entrepreneurship, which is really to complete the 5 E's.
Okay.
And if anybody who you asked me before about succeeding in Dubai, you definitely need to have the energy and the ability to be able to energize people, ability to have the edge, as many information or little information, be able to make your decision and be able to execute and have some entrepreneurship to be able to live and contribute to the society, which is very important if you're going to succeed in Dubai.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, and God bless you.